Elimination. Alright, we have these two equations here, and we want to solve for the system using elimination, and we've got options. We can either eliminate y or x, so I can multiply everything in this equation by 3, and then I would have 3x's here that I can eliminate with this 3x, or I can multiply everything in this equation by 2, and then I would have 2y here that I can eliminate with that 2y. And I don't know which is the best way to go forward, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply everything in this equation by 2. So what would I get if I did that? If I multiplied everything by 2, what I will end up with is a 6x plus 2y equals 32. Alright, and now I've got a 2y here, and I can eliminate these y's over here by subtracting, right? So I'm going to subtract x plus 2y. I could have lined up my x's better there, sorry. Equals 9. Alright, so now we're just doing good old subtraction. What is 6x minus x? That's going to be 5x. The 2y's cancel out. 2y minus 2y is just going to be no y's, 0 y's. And then over here, I've got 32 minus 9. So that is going to give me 23. Alright. So x is going to be kind of an unpleasant number, but we just divide both sides by 5. And what we end up with is x is going to be 23 over 5. Alright. So now I have to do the unpleasant work of substituting this solution back into this first equation over here and finding out what y is going to be. So let's do that. So I got 23 over 5 for my x plus 2y equals 9. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 23 over 5 from both sides, and that means I need a common denominator here. Well, what divided by 5 equals 9? And hopefully you're able to work out 45. 45 divided by 5 is 9. So now I'm going to subtract these two fractions here. And what do I get if I do 45 minus 23? I'm going to get 22 over 5, I'm pretty sure. Alright. So 22 over 5 equals 2y. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, but again, to make that easier, you can think of it as, instead of dividing by 2, multiplying both sides by 1/2, which is basically the same thing. Multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2, because these will undo each other still, right? 2 divided by 2 is 1, so you're just going to have y by itself. And then over here on this side, we're going to multiply by 1/2. So these undo each other. And now I can actually do some cross-canceling here, right? I know that 22 divided by 2 is 11. So what I end up with is y equals 11 over 5. And my solution is therefore going to be 23, 5, and 11 over 5. Remember, you're always writing your solution as a coordinate pair when you're doing these types of problems. Okay. 26. This type of problem is a lot more tricky because it's not immediately obvious which variable I should eliminate or what I'm going to be multiplying by in order to eliminate. I'm probably going to have to do some work on both equations this time before I'm able to eliminate. I'm not just going to be able to multiply one of these by a number and then eliminate. I'm going to have to do something to both of them. Okay, so let's think about that. Suppose I want to get rid of the x's. I've got a 5x here, I got a 2x there. What number can be divided by, what's the smallest number, right, that can be divided by both by 5 and 2? And I think 10 is probably our best bet. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to multiply everything on this side by 2, because that way I'm going to get a 10x, right, which is what I want. And then I'm going to have to come over here to this equation. And remember, I want a 10x, because that's what I want to eliminate, are the x's. So I'm going to have to multiply everything by 5 on this side. So 5 times 2x plus 3y equals, 17 times 5. Alright, so let's go ahead and distribute here. So now I end up with my 10x minus 8y equals 6. Okay, here I've got my 10x plus 15y equals 17 times 5, which I think is 85. Kind of a scary number, but that's what we got to work with, so that's what we're going to have to do. So now what I'm going to do is you could actually take your pick. I could subtract this equation from this equation, or the other way around. I'm going to go ahead and subtract this one from this one. Okay, so we're going to subtract 10x minus 8y equals 6. Want to be very careful with our signs, especially right here, but let's go ahead and go. So 10x minus 10x, that's 0. That's what I wanted to eliminate, right? So they're gone, they're done. 15 minus 8, so that's going to be like 15 plus 8. That's going to be 23y. And then finally over here, I've got 85 minus 6. So that's going to give me 79, I think. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and solve for y, and I got 79 over 23. Ouch. Okay, well now that I've got my answer here, I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in to one of these equations. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. I guess I'll go ahead and let's see what I want to do. I'll pick this guy right here. Okay, so I'm going to have 2x plus 3 times 79 over 23. And that all equals 17. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out a calculator here, because I'm afraid that I'll mess this up if I try to do it in my head. But 3 times 79 is 237. Oh my goodness. 237 divided by 23 equals 17. Okay, so now we need to subtract 237 from over 23 from both sides, right? So what I'm going to end up with is 2x equals, okay, I've got to multiply top and bottom 17 by 23 in order to get a common denominator. And so again, I'm going to use my calculator. I've got a calculator right here. I'm going to see what I get when I multiply 17 times 23 is 391. 391 over 23 minus 237 over 23. Wow. And if we subtract 273 from 391, what we end up with is 154 over 23. Alright, but we're not done yet, because remember what we have here is 2x equals 154 over 23. And I'm going to use the same method I did on the last problem. Instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 1/2. And again, that'll give me what I want here. These will undo each other. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. Then over here I got times 1/2. And again, I can do some cross cancellation with this, because 154 divided by 2, if I'm not mistaken, is 77. Yeah. So x equals 77 over 23. That means the answer to this big mess that I've just put on my paper is going to be 77 over 23, 79 over 23. There is the answer to 26.